Dispassion, the engine of transformation. Why is dispassion the engine of transformation? Because what does transformation mean? Transformation means we move from one state to the other. Moving, form, our state. We move from one form to another form. We move from one state of being to another state of being. So what does this have to do with dispassion? Why is it dispassion leads to transformation on the spiritual path? It's because fundamentally on this path, when we talk about spirituality, when we talk about our interior state of being, our consciousness, our perception, in order to move to another level, to a higher level, we must first become tired, exhausted of our present level. We must start to perceive the limitations inherent in our present level. Now, in life, change is normal, and even dispassion to some degree is normal. Let's say we're doing a certain job, we start to think, oh, I don't like this, it makes me miserable, it makes me stressed. We start to feel dispassionate towards that job. We start looking for a new job, we find a new job. We leave the old job, we enter the new job. We've transformed, our work life has transformed. Okay, things have changed. Okay. The thing here is that maybe in the new job, the same problems start to appear. Or we start to feel the same way. We start to feel dispassionate again. Or maybe the job's okay, but something else in our life starts to feel dissatisfying. Maybe towards a relationship or something we start to feel dispassion. So then we think, okay, let me change that. So this type of dispassion, this kind of surface level dispassion is perfectly normal. People are always changing little things in their lives, right? But that's the point, is that these kind of surface level changes, the need to make surface level adjustments of the life scenery, this process never seems to end. So the kind of dispassion that I'm talking about on this path, spiritual transformation, on natural path, avadhuta path, path of dissolution, it's more of a dispassion with that mode of dispassion. It's more of a dispassion that says, I've changed this, I've changed that, I keep changing this, I keep changing that, I keep doing this for a while, but yet I never feel completely fulfilled. I never feel complete, totally. I never find something which leaves me feeling permanently satisfied, permanently whole. So this is a different kind of dispassion altogether. It's a dispassion that has like a massive question mark at the end of it, because our usual way of being, of seeking fulfillment, of seeking happiness, is just changing things. Changing what we do, changing where we go, changing who we see. And this kind of dispassion is kind of saying, well, it doesn't matter what you do. There's this ambient feeling of discontentment there. Now, how do I get rid of it? So this kind of dispassion, which is also a kind of disillusionment, becomes like an itch. It becomes like an itch that we can't scratch. Before in life, we've always lived with this itch. But we kind of dream that we can get at this itch by doing this or doing that. Or we kind of temporarily scratch this itch by doing different things, which gives us temporary senses of fulfillment. But this kind of dispassion that I'm talking about here, also called vairagya in Sanskrit, is really this deep acknowledgement that, yeah, I have this itch I can't scratch, and I can't see anything that's going to work. to help me sort this thing out. So this kind of dispassion for me is the engine of the real genuine spiritual path of transformation, because it pushes us beyond ourselves, and then it pushes us beyond ourselves again. And it keeps doing that. Maybe at some point we all feel, we kind of plateau, we feel conditionally satisfied. Maybe we get some level of experience, maybe we get some level of realization, and we want to set ourselves up as a guru, as a master. And then that makes us feel happy. We feel powerful. But again, it's not permanent. This itch that I'm talking about here that yields this kind of dispassion, this itch stays with us in some form or another until total liberation is attained. So we can never fully escape it until the job is done. Right? So this kind of dispassion is the engine of transformation. Even we can start advancing into spiritual states, and we'll look at that and see, yeah, but still, there's some still degree of suffering there, some degree of discomfort, some degree of insecurity, some fear. There's still some limitation there. It's not yet totally expansive. So at that point, the dispassion will be less painful. We would have already attained something, but it will still push us further. It'll push us further by allowing us to see the limitations in our present way of functioning. And as I've said on these talks before and in my books and stuff, merely seeing the limitations with a kind of neutral, observational awareness is enough. We don't need to then go in there with our mind and think, okay, now I need to do this, now I need to do that. Consistently seeing the limitations, seeing our patterns, seeing our obscurations and distortions, this actually allows us to transcend them naturally, organically. We just begin to relax out of them, because what keeps people in illusion, in ignorance, is that they don't see it. They don't see how they're fooling themselves, how they're deceiving themselves. And it's that, and also they're happy with their impermanent, temporary, piecemeal level of satisfaction that they get from that kind of life. That's also what keeps them there. So dispassion is what drives us beyond all of this. Dispassion, again, is what drives us beyond ourselves. It's what drives us to our source. It's what pulls us to our source. So, final point, on this path, dispassion is our best friend. Dissatisfaction, disillusionment, these things are our friend on this path. These things allow us to transition to a new way of existence. And once we really find the path and discover this path, we'll know this. And we'll be grateful for dispassion in whatever form that it arises, as that itch that keeps us awake to ourselves, both our essence, our awareness, and to our limitations that obscure that awareness. Dispassion makes all of that possible. Dispassion is our friend. Dispassion is the engine of transformation.